everyone. This is A Bit of Business. My name is John Fitzgerald, and on behalf of learmedia.tv and the British and Irish Trading Alliance, welcome to the show. I would like to welcome back two regular guests and well-known personalities within the BITA community, Paul Whitnell and Michael Crease, who we last met at the end of 2021. Paul is the founder, president, and mobilizing force behind BITA, which he set up 10 years ago. And Michael, of course, the well-known racing driver of British touring car fame. By way of quick background, Michael is relatively new to racing, starting just 5 years ago in the Ginetta Cup, winning that championship at his first attempt. He then won the Ginetta Super Cup, again at his first attempt, and is now widely recognized and respected within the racing community as someone to be reckoned with on the track. Throw in his celebrity status and a legion of adoring fans, and you have a recipe for success. So, Paul and Michael, welcome to the show. Let's kick off. Paul, a lot has happened since we last spoke. So please give us an update on what has happened with Michael, with the team, and what is coming up in the season ahead.
Well, I suppose first and foremost, we signed a deal, which is great, because that's what you need to get into the seat, and we've done that, and we're tremendously happy with the team that we've signed a deal with. We've already had a couple of test days, and we're very happy with the performance of the car and the team behind the scenes in that regard. And we're really looking forward to a really, really good season. There's lots of things happening within the British touring car season that's going to be new, hybrid, etc. There's lots of nuances. And for us, we've got a whole team together as well in terms of what Michael has to offer. Diana Binks has joined us in terms of our organization, which is fantastic. So from a corporate perspective, the operation is going to be very slick this year. We're offering our sponsors a great opportunity to maximize their experience of British touring car, and then to have Michael back in the seat. We're so excited, waiting for the season to start, for him to show us what he's got while he's been away all this time, kind of, practicing on sim and doing all this stuff and getting fit. Yeah, we're really looking forward to the season.
Good stuff, and a great opportunity for the sponsors to showcase their brands. We'll come back to those in a second and talk about them in a bit more detail. But Michael, let's come to you for a second. We're now almost in a post-COVID world, so fans will be back for the coming season, which is terrific. What are you most looking forward to with more fans on the track than over the last 2 years or so?
It's exactly that. I mean, we got off to an amazing start with all the fans and the media and the marshals and everyone who had the support for me when we sort of ventured into touring car in 2019, and we got 12th in my first ever race, and we just sort of somehow, with my celebration and stuff, and how much it meant to me, Paul and the team and Vince and everybody there and my family, it was just amazing feeling that we come 12th in our first ever race, and we celebrate like we won the championship on the first race. And all the fans just bought into me, and then we had a cracking season through 19, getting to know everybody, and me and Paul out in the campsites and really building the brand and the name and stuff, and then that stuck. We become like the fan favourite that year, and then poor old 2020 hit, and we had such an amazing year in 2020 as well. It's almost like we've forgotten how good we actually had that year, but there was no fans there to celebrate. I mean, I won the Jack Sears, and I'm up there holding up the trophy in front of my wife, Paul, and probably 3 or 4 mechanics. And then this year, I watched Daniel Rowbottom hold it up in 2021, and you couldn't see for the thousands of people that were there. And I would have loved, obviously, to have that, but we won it in a special year of special memories and stuff. But this year, I can't wait to get back for the fans. I mean, I was out at Croft last week in the car for my first full day test, and the amount of support and fans were waiting around the truck for me, and just to get a glimpse and a quick chat and sign some signatures and some photos and stuff I had with just a little crowd of people around my truck on a test day. It's incredible. I mean, I'm just so looking forward to getting back out there.
Fantastic. And Paul mentioned, and there's talk in the press now about the move to hybrid engine technology, Michael. So what does this mean? How will it affect the performance of the cars? And is this a positive step forward for the environment?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, we're all about the environment. Paul does a lot with, different companies and the plastic and all that sort of stuff with BITA. And I just feel it's a great step in the right direction for the environment side. Touring car, I think you definitely got to watch it this year, because we're having so many problems transforming the cars into hybrid, and there's a lot of problems at the moment, which I'm sure are going to get ironed out, but it's going to be a good spectacle to watch. But on the other side of that, it brings so much more scope into what hard work me and Paul do off the track with the sponsors, because everyone wants to be greener now, energy saving and all this sort of stuff is going on. So it just opens up an umbrella of companies who want to come and support us now, because we're a bit greener. We're going in that way, and we hold great hospitality events. But to come along, if you're a business that's sort of trying to support that side of things, it's difficult to come along to a motor race. And but now with the hybrid going in, it's a lot easier for them companies to come along. And we've had some great support and from different recycling companies, and we're talking to many different more, and it's opened up a real good opportunity for us to target them now.
And Paul mentioned you mentioned the test day, and Paul mentioned the sort of the build up to the season. So talk us through your preparations right now, because I know you're kicking off, I think, at the end of the month with the first race. So what do you have to do between now and then to get ready?
Well, I'm pretty much, fitness-wise, I'm pretty much there. I done over 100 laps last week at Croft. Felt okay. The next day I had a slight, where I've gone into a left-hand drive car, my shoulder, my right-hand shoulder needed a bit more work, and my right arm needed a bit more work because it's changing gear, where I've normally been in a right-hand drive car. So left-hand side's pretty much built for that. So I had to do a bit of work on the right-hand side, but I feel physically fit. But I'm ready to go now. I'm dressed in my brand new team kit, because straight after this, I'm off in the camper down to Thruxton, because we've got ITV filming tomorrow. All of the camera shots, all the new livery and the new race suits and stuff. And then Wednesday is the launch of the car, going out of all our new partners and bits and pieces that are on the car, and we're testing on Wednesday. So I'm ready to go. I'm buzzing. I was in the car at Croft last week. The week before that I was in Donington, and I might be squeezing one in between Wednesday and the start of the season. So I'll be ready to go. The car feels good. I'm still learning it at the moment. It's quite a bit different to the Honda, but it's it's a big learning curve. I've got new people strapping me in the car. I've got new people talking to me in my ears. New team, all new again. So I'm just trying to, feel myself into that and then be ready for round one. So
your first time in a Vauxhall, and you were in a Honda. What are the major differences that you're noticing so far?
The predictability of the Honda, after being in it for so long, I pretty much knew what it was going to do as and when, and I could then start liaising with my engineer saying, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And because I knew the problems or the feel that I've had in previous rounds, with this, it's learning all again. So at Croft, I've forgotten how scary it is at the back, to be fair, when you're changing up to sixth gear flat out through the S's and doing about 130 mile an hour. It's pretty scary. So I had to retrain my body to open my eyes again and start breathing. And it took me half a morning to get used to driving at that speed, and that change of direction quick. But yeah, we're just working out the Astra so I can get the feel of the Honda in the Astra, if that makes sense. Obviously, completely different cars. The Astra is a bit softer than the Honda. Honda had carbon structures on the front and rear to make it stiff. So the Astra is a little bit, I can feel more movement in the car. which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. So there's going to be some tracks that we know we're not suited to. So you'll see us mid-pack, or and we've just got to damage limitation them weekends and score enough points. But there'll be other tracks we go to where we'll be right at the sharp end, battling for race wins. So
very exciting. So Paul, you have a amazingly busy schedule as president of BITA. How do you find the bandwidth to also manage the team with Michael as the figurehead in the car?
I suppose one word covers that, and that's addiction. Once it starts, it's just something that you get so addicted to. The whole build up to the season. There's a lot of hard work in terms of setting up the sponsorship deals and all that kind of stuff. But what BITA provides, Michael, and I believe no one else has it in the paddock, is that type of relationship in terms of the payback that a sponsor will get in terms of coverage, and the type of network that we create within the paddock itself. So it makes it very worthwhile for sponsors to be added to the whole spectacle of the sport. When you can actually utilize this, really enjoying a day out, giving your customers something of an amazing experience, but also doing a bit of business on the day. And that's what Michael brings to the table when a sponsor is involved. So this year we're being a bit more scientific in terms of marrying up the sponsors, that they actually complement each other. And this has been very, very strategic this year in terms of getting those people that will bounce off each other. And therefore next year, it's a no-brainer that they will come back again for more. But this is an addiction. It's once it starts, it doesn't stop. Every track has its own merits, as Michael said, and some of which will really play into our hands, and some of which will be more difficult. But I suppose what has happened over the last couple of years is he's now built up the experience of understanding where his favorite tracks are. And we too, as an organization now, know where they are. So we need to pile the people in and support on those ones when we know he's going to shine. And to be honest with you, it's out of 10 tracks, I think it's safe to say that 7 of them are Michael's preference. There's 1 or 2 toughies out there, but he's also overcome them over time. And I'll always remember 1 or 2 in particular. And he was telling me when he came out of the car, the experience of going through certain areas and certain tracks was actually nothing bordering on frightening. And this is where a race driver becomes a race driver, when you overcome that and you actually can go into these without fear. And now I think Michael's ready for that. This year in particular, in preparation, he's done a lot more in terms of physical training. And also there's the addition of the sim training as well, which he's actually put into his own home. And there's no excuse now. So it's not EastEnders or Coronation Street anymore. It's actually sim. So, but it's been a great addition in terms of his preparation, and it's certainly going to stand for him this year.
Yeah, and sorry, John, we'd just like to thank Clever Baggers as one of my sponsors. Provided me that simulator, and they're a lot of money these days. They're not just your normal PlayStation stuff. So I'd like to thank them for that, and it's been a massive help that I can just get a feel for the tracks and the car pre-going there, what to expect and stuff. And also just on what Paul said there's been probably 2 or 3 times me and Paul have said, do you know what, should we can this off, because this is so hard. But we just, like he says, the addictions keep going and going. And Paul, you must admit, it's been so hard this year, to get being out of the car for pretty much a year and trying to get back into touring car. You don't see many people who go out who gets back in. And that's just through pure hard work with myself and Paul. We if I'm honest, we probably didn't deliver last year with all the sponsors, but to keep them on board has been, credit to Paul and Vince, and now Diana has been a great addition to the squad. So fingers crossed we can have a good year this year, and then look to start putting pressure and winning the championship the following couple of years.
Excellent. Nice shout out there for Clever Baggers. So thanks to them for their support. And Michael, a question for you. When it comes to your own performance in the car over the course of the last 5 or 6 years? What's the difference when you look back between winning and losing?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. You know, I mean, racing the boys out in Monaco and Austria and stuff like in the Porsches, that was difficult, but that was difficult because I've never been in a Porsche before. You know, put me all my career in a Porsche, I would have jumped in that and we'd have been away down the road. I mean, that was the hardest bit of that. But touring car, when I got back in the car, I just thought, do you know what? This is tough to drive, and the boys are so good that you're racing. The level is it's going up every year. This is the hardest year of British touring cars ever been. You know, we've got new stuff that we need to learn with the hybrid, the buttons, and it's like a computer game now. You're more on the dash than you are looking up. So this is going to add a whole new era, and I think this is where sim racing is going to be a lot more important now, because you've got to get used to these buttons, and you know it's like a computer game now, but you are traveling at real speeds, and I think racing touring car at the beginning, when you're learning, it's a different set of skills. You have to get a lot of respect from the other drivers. They feel you out. They know if they can lean on you or if you're going to be dangerous to them, or how they pass you. And also being around the paddock, being a nicer sort of guy, or, you know, I do a lot with ITV and the filming crew in 2019, and I built up a lot of respect from the other drivers, and I've also got a lot of respect for them drivers as well. You know, you can race and you can't race. So this year, going into this now, I feel really positive. I'm pretty much being looked at as the lead driver at Vauxhall as well now, because we've got my new teammate, a guy called Ash Hand, who's very, very, very quick, by the way. And I'm looking at him to push me on and me push him on as well. So it's a good dynamic. But I just feel like I'm maturing as a driver. I feel like we're maturing as a team. We understand it now a bit more. We were a bit blind the last couple of years, and I just think with Diana coming in, Paul sorting out all the roles for everyone to do, we're turning up. And we all know what we have to do this on the weekends. I've got no pressure. I've just got to go and get in that car, like we spoke about in January. Paul said, don't think about anything else but driving that car, and let everybody else do all the work. And I feel like having that is going to make me a lot better this year, so I can just focus on my performance.
And Paul, what are your expectations for the season, and what does success look like in your mind? And then perhaps also give us a little rundown of the sponsors that are supporting Michael this year.
Well, success is in terms of, if you look at it as a spectacle, first and foremost, you know, the 10 rounds, a full day of ITV coverage that goes on for hours on end. So you've races. It's incredible coverage from a point of view of live coverage. It's also an incredible day to attend. So the success is already there by putting Michael into a seat. It's a fantastic success to see him continue his career in touring car racing, because it's so difficult to do that. It's not cheap. And as Michael said, we were up against it in current economic times. It was very, very hard to bring the partners on board. And thankfully we did so, and have signed to a great team. So success for us is already there by putting Michael in the seat. But in terms of the season, what I would like to see now is for Michael to further experience some great successes himself in terms of his own milestones. And that's what we've done from the get-go. Once he first started, we always went step by step. And we achieved something every year, whether it was Ginetta, Super Cup, Jack Sears Trophy. Every year it was another step. So this year is consolidate in terms of his experience, and he's alluded to it there already in saying that he's matured, and that maturity will show now in terms of how you blend into the season. You look at every racetrack differently, you treat them differently, you prepare differently, and that is what we've learned from before. We have the data that is provided from previous years as well, and all of that experience now you should see go play into his hand this year. From an experience point of view of the supporters and the fans, it's great to see Michael having the ability to re-engage with them again. And that is something that is very special to him. Those reactions, I can't wait to see that door opening, in midsummer, and, those experiences and those celebrations. Yes, a podium would be lovely if we were to add that onto the list. And I think it's beyond us, because the car is going to be very, very consistent. And I do believe that with reverse grid, and this year also, if we take into consideration that everybody is going to have the adaptation of hybrid and the trials and tribulations that will go with that. So it's going to be a very exciting season in terms of things that you didn't expect to happen. And there's quite a new number of entrants as well. So in terms of drivers, so there's no experiences on lots of levels. So all in all, I think I'm looking forward to super season, but also looking forward to Michael leaning on the experiences that he had from before and using them to play in his hand.
And Michael, would you echo all of that? And have you set some personal goals for yourself for this season?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, exactly what Paul said. We sat down, we spoke about it. We've said, we've always had a goal, like he said, and I think a podium is where we need to be. And if a win comes along, we'll take it, obviously. And but I think step by step, a podium this year would be great. I mean, you look at great drivers like Jake Hill, for instance. It's taken him 4 or 5 years to win a race in touring car. It's not something that comes overnight. Do you know what I mean? And it's so competitive and so tough. Like I keep alluding to, anything inside the top 12 is, you should be giving yourself a pat on the back. So when it does come, and I'm sure it will this year with Power Max Racing, make sure you're at the podium, because we're going to have a celebration for sure.
Great team, great driver, great car. It's a recipe for success for sure. So Paul, how can people watching this physically support Michael during the season, or even at the very least from a distance?
Well, ITV have it live, so it's watching it on ITV. We have the website. Keep close to the website and Michael's website, which will update you in terms of detail. Diana thinks will be reporting on that. And on the day, then it's supporting in the various locations. We will have support from our sponsors on the day. We'll have a lot of corporate hospitality happening for those throughout the season, and we look forward to that. The support itself has fanatical supporters. But I would urge anybody who's never been to a British touring car race meeting to come and watch it. It is a spectacle and a half. And now that you know Michael through BITA and the sponsors, well, then the door will always be open for us. Come and see us in the paddock, and we will say hello back to you. And we look forward to that type of interaction as well.
Everything kicks off in Donington on April 23rd, 24th, and the second race of the season is in Brands Hatch, May 14 and 15. So 2 races to mark and 2 dates to put in your calendar. So Paul, a quick shout out we mentioned Clever Baggers, a quick shout out for the other sponsors as well, please.
I always leave some out, so Michael's going to give me a hand here. But we have, first of all, DDS Demolition. They've been there from the start and great supporters to us. You have Glencar, which I suppose essentially, when it came to negotiation, these guys were the guys that gave us the ammunition to actually go for a deal this year. So a big special mention to Eddie McGillicuddy and Glencar, because that gave us the kind of power to go into this and really kind of set up a good deal for ourselves. We mentioned Clever Baggers. They've been very consistent as well. Skyline and BITA have been great supporters in the past. We have the obviously BITA. We have to give BITA a member, or mention at least, from a point of view of what we put behind these guys. Michael has some also great additions, Premier Contract Supplies, and is the powerhouse behind this. And to be honest with you, none of this could happen without Vincent Caldecott. He's an amazing man, loves the sport, and invested in Michael in terms of his belief, mentorship, and support from the get-go as well. So an amazing man that Vince is. So Michael, there is some sponsors that in from that side.
Well, I mean, we've just finishing off what you're saying about Vince. He brings a lot of sponsors as well to the table, and we've just managed to secure a new company called Aquadart that making shower enclosures and shower doors, etc. And they come on board. They come up to us to watch us at Donington and loved it just at a test day, and committed quite a big chunk of money as one of our headline sponsors. And we've also got Gibret, who do frames for toilets, and they would also do other sanitary ware, which again through Paul and Vince, the relationship's really cool there. And again with BITA, they do a lot for each other work-wise with there. We've also got likes of Hans Grower on again this year, which have been an important person throughout my career. A little bit smaller this year, but you know they're still there supporting us and still delivering what they promised. We've got people like CTD Tiles on this year, which are a massive, great big company. It's been sold out, so they're looking to increase their power over the next couple of years. We've got Hive Construction. We've got CW Carpentry. We've got so many smaller.
We've got Jez from Fire Protection as well.
Yes, Fire Protection.
He's a great guy because he's very good involved in sport in the paddock, and we met him in the paddock last year. And it's an example of someone who's engaged at that level. So I think we've managed to mention them all there now.
The one with Jez though, Paul, is a great example because between myself and Paul in the construction industry, we've managed to now bring him in to BITA, and he's already had his balance that he's contributed to the race car back in work. So, I mean, exactly what Paul said earlier, the organisation has already given him back before the season's even started, the work to cover, a profit, should I add, to cover what he's pretty much invested into the racing. So, you know, the proof's in the pudding there. And so has Vince Caldecott over the years, you know, a lot of turnover there added on to. So we are the only people in the paddock that are giving back to the sponsors more than what they're putting in. We can actually say that.
Well, that's the power of the BITA ecosystem in action right there. And it's concrete proof that it works and works very effectively. So look, guys, let's leave it there for today. I know, Michael, that the hundreds of companies that are part of BITA and the thousands of people that are part of BITA are wishing you all the very best for the upcoming season. And your hundreds of thousands of other fans who will see this will also be behind you 100%. So guys, thanks so much for joining me on the show today. I know that the audience will be very interested in hearing how you're progressing. So perhaps later in the summer, you can come back to give us another update. And until then, we're all behind you and I hope the season goes very, very well. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been A Bit of Business. My name is John Fitzgerald. Thanks so much for watching. All the best for now.
Thank you.